hop on, I want to introduce these two incredible human beings that we get to hear from today. So, first, we've got Ben Zobrist, and we're absolutely thrilled and honored to have Ben here with us today. He's an iconic figure in the Major League Baseball realm. He played every position except catcher, and he won the World Series twice and was MVP in 2016 for helping break the 108-year curse of the Cubs. And I can't wait to hear more about that because I've heard little pieces from Dave and stuff, and it just sounds like an incredible story. He also has a nonprofit called Champion Forward, and it supports high school athletes and parents and coaches navigate the high intensity sports world and build emotional intelligence, which is super, super cool. And Ben's just always been really actively involved in charitable work, and he's been a role model in so many ways and a man of faith. And so again, we're just honored and happy to have him here today. So welcome, Ben.
Thank you.
And
Thanks so much for having me, Dave.
Hey, baby.
It's always great.
This is unique today.
This guy.
Ben flew in yesterday, and so usually these Zooms are off somewhere else. And we went, yeah, you guys like,
Might as well just come over.
just come on over, man.
Yeah.
It's just, we've had a friendship for many years, and I'm so honored to share his knowledge and his whole approach to life. It goes way beyond baseball. You just said it, he's influenced so many people since baseball, the end of baseball. He still has a major career going on because he's rocking it out there, helping people find themselves going through stuff because he's been through it all, through his career. So there's so much here, so much juice that it's amazing. But is Luke Falk, not Luke Falk, Luke Scott. Are you
I don't think he's on yet.
I don't see him yet, but they go to.
I see Mark Haddis though. I know Mark.
Yeah, there's Mark, and Ronaldo's coming in from the Philippines. I got to start this with. We'll get into deeper stuff too, but I think everyone. To be behind the curtain, so to speak, of how an athlete competes. We did something a few years ago that created an Olympic record. We were on he was staying here, and I had an Olympic athlete that her everything she'd worked for was all on the line in this race. She had to win it to qualify, and everything was on the line. So Ben happened to be here, and I said, Ben, will you be on the call with us? And I said, I didn't even warn him, but I'm going to do it again now. He's a little bit more warm. He kind of said afterwards, that made me kind of nervous, but he said, all right, it's the 10th inning. 7th game of the World Series. The Cubs haven't won a World Series. They said it was the curse of the Cubs in 108 years. And at this time, I even asked Ben, were you guys ever thinking about that? He said, well, we didn't, but then we kind of did. So I want you to tell me, when you came up in the 10th inning, there's a billion people watching, not just the fans going crazy in Chicago. Everything is on the line. There's a chance to finally break the curse. I know that's not what you were thinking about when you came to the plate, but just tell me, just relive that moment for us.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to recognize that in a situation like that, there's going to be a lot of different feelings that are going on and a lot of different focuses that you could have, a lot of distractions that particularly could happen. And you're kind of fighting those as an athlete. To a certain degree, I was seasoned enough as an athlete that I knew what not to focus on. But still in that moment, you're going, okay, this is the biggest. I knew walking up that this is potentially the biggest at bat of my life. Man on second base, man on first and second, 10th inning, Game 7, World Series that hasn't been won in 108 years for this team. And, that it's could be, if you do well, it could be the best at bat of your life, right? But then I'm like, I know that cognitively, but immediately as soon as I know that, it's like, shut it off. None of that matters. All of that is on the outskirts of this moment, because this moment it's mano y mano. It's what I have, what I'm bringing to the plate versus what he brings to the plate. And if he does, this pitcher was an incredible pitcher at the time. If he does everything that he's capable of doing, I'm going to get out, because he's got the ball and he can control where the ball goes, right? But So he has to make a mistake, but I also have to come up with a strategy that if he makes a mistake, I do something well enough that it produces a higher percentage of result, right? So I think one of the keys for me walking up to the plate was not allowing my mind to try to do more than I was capable of doing. So keeping it simple and saying, hey, I'm not even going to try to get a hit right now. It's not about getting a hit. It's about if he throws the pitch in this particular location that I'm going to swing at, what is my strategy to just put a good swing on that ball? And if I put a good swing on the ball, what is the intention that I have for where I want that ball to go? So if you take your focus at all off of the ball, if I start to think too much about my swing or too much about where I want the ball to go afterwards, and I don't say, hey, find the spin of the baseball, right? Like, so to get that fine-tuned and detailed on focus, I had to, like, there was nothing else. I didn't hear anything the umpire or the catcher was saying to each other. I didn't hear the fans. I didn't hear my bench. I barely looked down to third base for a sign because I knew they weren't going to give me a bunt there. I mean, like, I was just so, like, focused and in the zone on, okay, he's good. I'm looking for the ball to come out here, and this is what I think it's going to look like. So you're kind of envisioning a picture in your mind, right? So that's the visualization piece. Is I was envisioning a picture and a feeling of, when I see this, this is how it's going to feel to take the strategy of my swing in this location. And then that potentially, percentage-wise, might produce the result that I'm really looking for. So if I start to think, oh man, I'm going to get a hit right here. I'm confident. I'm going to get a hit. I'm going to get a hit. Like, that confidence doesn't produce anything for me in that moment if I'm not paying attention to the really, really detailed focus that I have to have.
Yeah, and I got to say, you make it sound so simple, but it takes years of dedication. He built himself up and just keep learning how to discipline your brain. It's possible for everyone out there, because you all will have opportunities where you get up in the 7th inning of the World Series. No, in the 10th inning of the 7th game.
It will feel like that. That's right.
It will feel like that. But it's now start training your brain. We have a question that I got asked on Facebook that we're going to answer later about how you deal in those nervous situations. How do you deal with nerves? We're going to answer that later. But it's a training that hopefully through this call, you'll go, it's possible that I could do that too.
Yeah.
I could do that. It's so incredible that he could control his mind in that situation. And Stephen Kotler, I know you're in here listening. You know, he wrote so many great books, Stealing Fire, The Rise of Superman. Stephen, this is for you. I know you describe flow scientifically. He just described being in flow, right? I know you were relating to that. It's so amazing to hear that. But again, it sounds almost, well, wait, that's so simple. But it takes years and so many at-bats and dedication.
Particularly one of the things that by the way, I think Luke Scott just entered the room.
Oh, did he? Oh, we got to say hi to him.
And so, Luke's one of my former teammates.
Hey, Luke.
We battled
unmute
together.
Yourself. You know how to do that? Are you technical enough? I mean, you hit home runs. You should be able to unmute yourself.
How's that?
There he is.
So we break this for a comment from Mr. Luke Scott. I met Ben through Luke when they were both playing for Tampa Bay.
Yep.
And they both played in the minor leagues together in Houston. I didn't know that. That's when I started working with Luke. Luke went on to have a stellar career. In fact, I got to ask you a question, Luke. In Baltimore, the year you were the MVP at Baltimore, for Baltimore, you hit more home runs out of the stadium ever in the history. Does your record still hold? Are there still more Luke Scott brass balls on Utah Street?
No, Chris Davis. He has the crown now.
He was a big man. He hit some balls far.
Well, you had it for a while. We just had to say hi to you since you jumped in. You want to say anything else? You guys haven't seen each other. You're dear friends back. Well,
Luke knows this. Luke, dude, I have so much respect for Luke and the way that he went about his business. And we had so many great talks on our common faith in Jesus too, which is has been very important. And we've had conversations about that. We think, faith is such an important part of the aspect of getting in that moment too, because if you don't realize that there is somebody else that is really gonna either allow the ball to drop in for a hit or an out. Like that, there was a piece to knowing, hey, at the end of the day, I'm not in complete control of this, okay? But what I can be in control of is my mindset as I'm walking up there. And one of the things that I know that Luke and I and anybody else that goes into that situation as a veteran has to be able to do is recognize that failure is a probability. It's not just something that might happen. It's like most of the time as a baseball player hitter, you're going to fail. So instead of the fear in that moment of, oh no, this might happen or that might happen, or like there is something to be said for I've failed enough to know that yes, I know all the possibilities and the probabilities. However, none of those pictures are entering my mind right now. None of those feelings and those reminders are entering my mind. That can get triggered if I had a bunch of experiences against Brian Shaw, that pitcher, that I could recall and say, oh no, he might do this and that and all this. And I had been thinking about all those negative experiences of the past and bringing those into that fear, that bringing in the fear of what's he going to do to me, could have controlled that moment. Instead, I was trying to focus on what I could do. What is the possibility, not the probability in that moment? Does that make sense?
Oh boy, it makes all kinds of sense. And Luke, you'll relate to that. We did game readies before he played. He's the only player I allowed. This was radical. I mean, he would ride his bike to the stadium when he played for Baltimore. I'd give him a game ready while he's on his bike. Now you're supposed to close your eyes in the game ready, but Luke could do it. He said, no, I can see it with my eyes open. Remember that, Luke?
Yeah. Well, there's what's called the mind's eye. You have physical sight, but then you also have the sight of your spirit. And that's why, the expression, the mind's eye, comes from. So there's having the ability, being able to recognize those things, you're able to separate the two, where I can be going on my bike, observing the physical world around me, but my mind's eye, like my spirit, is connecting with what I'm trying to accomplish as far as getting myself ready mentally and spiritually to go to the stadium to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. And Ben, you touched on a lot of principles just on your 3-minute dissertation there. We could write essays on that. There's starting off with the creator's law. Everything derives from the creator's law and the principles he has set forth and established when he spoke everything into existence. And learning how to extract those principles and applying them into your natural world is what we're trying to do. Now, how do we attain that? Is the biggest part is ourselves. I'm looking at my biggest competitor is always me. Ben, you are your biggest competitor. And it's right here. It's Romans 12:2, to be transformed by the renewing of your mind into the perfect will of God. Well, that transformation takes time. It takes discipleship or discipline. Truthfully, I wish I knew this information a long time ago. I was kind of struggling, I was getting pieces of it, but I didn't have this complete picture as I do now. That's what happens with age and experience. Sometimes you get to these goals at a higher level, and it's, you just wish you could go back and relive the days of your youth.
You know what? I always say, Luke, you've heard me say, God, I wish I had me when I was playing back then.
I know. We said that a lot when you were.
Are you? Yeah, but I'm a different me now,
Yeah.
But hey, man, thanks for being on. Listen in. I got more questions of this guy sitting here. So stay with us, will you? And then we're going to get some good questions at the end. Bless you, man. Good to see you.
Thanks,
really
Luke.
Good to see you, Luke. So right. I got a big question for you, because here, a lot of stuff we've been talking about. One thing I want to say, how you do anything is how you do everything. So one thing that Luke said, how you approach Major League Baseball is the same mindset. I had a chance to work with our special forces. I don't do that much difference with them than I did with ball players. Mm-hmm. Same thing in life, same thing in marriage. It's so true. It's how you approach everything. It's like, and that's where we get messed up, is that, we think, we got our skill set here, we'll do it all here, but we don't bring it to every aspect of our life.
Yeah.
It is, when you bring it to every aspect of your life, then you always have it to use in every aspect of your life. But here's something I think is really important for people to hear. you were gonna you're a high school baseball player, love the game, and no college offers. I mean, to have the career you had, to think no college offer, and I guess my last baseball was my last high school game.
Yeah.
Can you take it from there?
Yeah, I did. I finished my high school career and got in my 1980 pickup truck and drove home, and I literally wept and cried because I thought, when this is something that I've loved and practiced and enjoyed with my family and friends for a long time, and I thought it was over. And I think that's a really important part of my story, that where like there is often times where you feel like, yeah, I don't see the future in this, and you kind of start to cash it in, and I think I really did, and but the thing was, it wasn't that I wasn't open. I was still open. I didn't close the door. I just thought that the door was closing on me, essentially. And so, but my high school coach saw something, and that's the important piece here too. If you're a mentor, is he saw the possibility or the potential in me, and then he presented this thing. He said, "Hey, I think there's a scout day happening on the other side of Peoria. You'll have to pay $50 a year." And $50 was a lot of money to me back then as a high school kid. Like, it was like my birthday money, right? And so I was like, well, one more day of baseball, maybe, who knows? And so, but I had to take the opportunity, right? So if you're a mentor, you can see possibility and potential in somebody, and you have to speak up and say something to them. But that young person or that person on the other side of it still has to take that opportunity. And even though there's risk to it, even though there's potential loss to it, even though it might seem like a waste of time, they have to see some possibility there as well. And so I took advantage of that. I went and did this scout day and did very little, but there was one coach there named Elliot Johnson from Olivet Nazarene University who also saw something in me. And it was, going back to that faith connection, it was connected to faith. If I had not had the character and the faith that I was known for as a player, he probably would not have presented this opportunity to me. So there's another way that the Lord potentially opened the door for me to do more in the sport. I didn't have to kick the door down, but I had to be ready to take advantage of the opportunity that came across my path. And that provided me an opportunity to go play college baseball in a Christian environment. And I really developed from there physically, got bigger, stronger, faster, worked on the game all year round for the first time in my life. And kind of from there, it started to become, wow, maybe I do have a future in this. But I wasn't holding it so tightly, like, this is my future. I will do this. No one's going to stop me. It wasn't that. It was literally like, okay, God, if today's my last day that I get to play, how can I honor you with this? And how can I use every bit of what you gave me to give myself the best possible chance to succeed, not only for myself, for my team, and really ultimately to honor him with the talents that he's given me.
Unbelievable. So I want you to really hear that. Sometimes you're faced with major challenges. Am I enough? Am I enough? I don't know if I'm enough, but there's something greater than you that you can tap into. And when you do, Luke talked about it, you talked about it. And I didn't know this was going to become like we're in the pulpit, but there's a power beyond you. And when you don't make it all about you, then it frees you.
Yeah.
Just to step in, just to step in, to be like for me, I can accept greatness better because I know I'm not just relying on me. Right.
Yeah.
So
that actually reminds me. I just saw the guy from the USA that just won the 1500. He was not expected to win it at all. He came from behind. He was one of the smaller guys in the field, like, shorter legs than everybody else. But this is a very, very fast race, right? And they have to run this thing like at potentially 55 seconds per lap, right, for the 1500, just to potentially win the race. And he was making this kick and he got blocked off. And so he kind of had to back off for a second. And then literally it opened up. The first lane opened up for him again. And he was able to kick past the leaders. They didn't see that was going to happen. And he snuck past them right at the end. And that's where he recognized, I mean, all the training that this guy does and the pursuit, he even recognized, he's like, God opened a door for me right there. So, I mean, there is something to be said for, I was stepping up in the 10th inning and they walked our best hitter to get to me for a reason. You know, I was not the best hitter on the team. So that's why they were pitching to me instead of Anthony Rizzo at the time. But I was in that position. God gave me the opportunity. And I talked to Jan Gomes, who was the catcher for the Indians at the time. I talked to him this a few months ago in spring training this year, and he said, did you know that 2 pitches before that, we just moved Ramirez, our third baseman, over 2 steps to the right? 2 pitches before that. And if he would have been in that same location when I hit that ball, it would have been a double play easy. And we wouldn't be talking about it. So you have to be prepared and you have to be locked in and you have to be ready, and there has to be an opening, right?
Oh boy, this is so good. So good. I hope you guys are just absorbing this. I mean, that's what it takes. You know, I even think of like, those that know me know you know, Henry David Thoreau talks about, he went to Emerson and said, hey, I want to build just a cabin on the lake. I want to experience God without any distractions. And I just want to be in nature. So for 2 years, 2 months, 2 days, he just stayed. And he even got to, when he walked down to the lake to get water, you know, it's just right there. He would pick a different path every day just so he could have a different experience. And he wrote his best material from there. But one of the things that I take away from it, and Kathy has actually the quote in her latest book, is that if one walks confidently towards their dreams or desires or goals and common hours, you'll eventually come to an invisible barrier. But one that has the trust and the faith and the courage to pass through the barrier, you find there's new universal laws available to you. You know, it's kind of like where Jesus said, you know, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Yeah. That's really what he had discovered. Yeah. In that he decided just to close out the world and find out what he could learn by that closing that out. And I'll tell you what, when you step into that, there is a whole new world for you. You now recognize that I'm just going to be here, be present, and you know, and you allow the Red Seas to part, so to speak.
Yeah, I would argue that you actually have an added tool, and not just a tool, you have an added person with you, right? It's like it's the Spirit of God in a way that like enlightens your ability to maximize your potential in that moment. Because I think if all you see is the material and the physical world in front of you, and yes, you're locked in on the mental side of the game and everything, but that only stays in the realm of what you are interacting with right there in that physical world. I still think you miss out on an added dimension essentially of what you're capable of focusing on. So I do think like when my focus went zeroed in on the baseball, and I think I had help blocking everything and anything else out, protecting me from hearing or seeing anything else except for what I needed to focus on at the time.
You know, it's interesting about that, and I hope you don't mind me telling the story, Luke. Luke was going through a challenge, and this ended up being the best year of his career. This is the year he was the MVP for the Baltimore Orioles, but he was really struggling at the beginning. And Luke asked me to fly back. I flew back to Minnesota to see what was going on. They were playing the Twins. And we spent the night together in his suite. And one thing I remember is, Dave, you're snoring. Stop snoring. I wake up the next morning. I don't see Luke in his bed. I'm going, where's Luke? And then I go and I see he's on the floor with covers over him. I'm going, oh my. Oh, I just screwed him up. He's got to play a game today. And I screwed him up with my snoring. But he was saying like, you know, the devil's blinding me and blocking me. He knows that I'm just so, you know. I said, so you believe that the devil's more stronger than God? He goes, well, no. I said, well, you know what? You have a bat. That's your sword. Use your bat. There's no greater strength. The devil can't compete with that. Go out there and use your sword. And all of a sudden, he just went freaking off. And that's the best year that Luke had his entire career, because now he wasn't distracted by those thoughts of, you know, the negatives and all that. He could just say, I've got a sword in my hand and I'm going to use it. And then we always talked about then just fall into trust. And then that just left everything else go away. I just have trust and faith. And when it comes. You know, we can't control that. But what we can control is how we deal with the situation.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump in a little bit quicker than I thought on the one question. How do you deal? How do you deal when something's really important and you get nerves? The problem we have is we try to stuff the nerves. They're actually gifts. I never knew that. I was playing a tennis tournament, and all of a sudden the nerves hit, like they always do. I went over. I had, I didn't say it out loud because I was on the stadium court. I said, God, why did you give me so much talent? And I'm freaking out. I'm tired of it. Why didn't you make me like Borg, who can handle this stuff? And I'm just mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad because here I am. I'm going to choke again. And then I went up and I hit an ace. And then I hit another ace. I went, wait a minute. You mean nerves were something you were giving me and I didn't know how to use them because I kept trying to stuff them and then they kept getting in the way. You mean I can use this? So all I did was shift the nerves into a power.
Yeah.
And that brought my focus to a heightened state. You probably had a lot of nerves going on, but you were able to bring your focus to a heightened state.
Yeah.
So you actually use the nerves to help you rather than distract you.
Right. Yeah. It's a reframing of what it's there for. Those nerves are there to actually, it's your body preparing to do its best that it's ever done. It's your mind. Everything is harboring up all the reserves that you have in your body and mind to hyper focus and to get your body to be as quick and as strong as it possibly has ever been. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have to stay in that state for like a very, very long period of time, it's a really good thing, because if you can harness that power, you can keep it focused in the right direction. You can do more than you can do on an average day.
Yeah, it's funny. I had an NFL coach. He hired me to work with him. And he says, Dave, I'm just so freaking tired of the nerves and the pressure. I'm tired of them. I said, oh, God, you hired the wrong guy. You're going to find someone else. He looked at me like, what? I said, nerves are awesome. And then we went through this whole thing. And then he shifted his nerves so that he could just get in the pocket and do what he needed to do and without the distractions. It's such an important element of life. There's one other area I want to go before we open it up to more questions. And that is what you're doing now, how you're mentoring, how you're taking everything you're talking about in life now, but now you're carrying forward. So if you're hearing this, we're talking like with Luke on and with Ben, these guys are in the 1%, top 1% of their profession as far as baseball goes. But everyone's can get to that point in your life, whatever you do, but you got to listen to these elements that we're talking about because you can apply it. So what Ben has done now that he's retired, that's what he's doing. He's gifting all kinds of kids and adults too.
Yeah.
To tell us a little about your charity and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So one of the things I did post baseball, kind of like Luke dove into a lot of that tactical training and stuff like that. One of the things I dove into, because I was going through a really hard family time, was a lot of emotional intelligence training and kind of how to marry the idea of the spiritual beliefs that I had and the physical, kind of the spiritual, physical, and emotional all together. Well, athletes deal with, and Luke can tell you this too, we deal with a lot of those nerves over time. We deal with a lot of emotions as players, but in order to tactically do the right thing from play to play to play to play, you have to mentally be locked in, but sometimes at the expense of all that mental locking in, emotionally you suppress. And that I did a lot of emotional suppression in my career. And I think that affected me relationally. Now I spiritually was always being, connected to the Lord and connected to God and believed the right types of things and was thinking the right types of things. And I was really trying to work really hard to be everything that everybody needed me to be. But what I will say is I think to a certain degree, I was trying to be a hero in all these roles that I was performing in. And when you live in that state of being a hero all the time, you can get so exhausted if you never actually deal with the human side of what you're dealing with. And so I went through a really tough depression after the World Series win. Between 2016 and 2017, I was losing a lot of the motivation to continue playing. I was kind of ready to retire before I was contractually retiring. And so as I went through that period of struggle, depression, and anxiety, I started doing some therapy around that and I was always connected to spiritual people, but started getting connected to the emotional side of things, the psychological side of things a little bit more, and did a lot of emotional intelligence training. And as I did a lot of that training, I thought, man, I wish that somebody would have introduced me to this at the beginning of my career, because I would have done a better job of transitioning each game from being a hero out on the field to stepping away and being human, you know, and learning how to just share exactly what I was going through and what I was feeling. And then the next day transitioning back to being hero again, you know, because you kind of have to do that. We all have those roles in our lives, whether you're a parent or whether you're working a job or whether there's just something you have to show up for, where you got to be a hero every day. But if you don't have any safe places to actually be human and you don't have a language for that, it can be really, really challenging. Well, as I did all this work, I started looking back at the sports world and go, if I want to make an impact as a coach, I'm not going to coach the major league level. I don't want to be gone from my kids and my family that much. So where can I make the biggest impact? I'm like, the next generation of athletes has to have the tools of emotional intelligence to combine the faith element that they may already have with the physical challenge and the social media challenge and the emotional challenge of trying to rise up the ranks as they're comparing themselves and competing on a regular basis. And if you look at the youth sports world, now you've got money entered into the youth world with NIL and all this craziness going on. These kids are experiencing the professional pressures and challenges at the age of like 12 years old now. It's crazy, like even younger than that sometimes. It's so bad developmentally for them and for their families that coaches don't even know what to do to help them, right? So like our organization has been developed in order to start to give coaches, parents, and the kids some of these tools at a very early age as they're competing and rising through the ranks to start to go, okay, we're going to go out and crush it today. But when we're done, how do we return to being humans with each other and sharing what that really felt like to try to compete at that level on a regular basis? And what does it feel like to have to compare yourself or compete for scholarships and all this stuff? And so we're trying to hopefully help it become a little bit more of a healthy conversation around around their development, instead of just, hey, let's just get to the next level. You want to have a different experience getting to the next level than the average great athlete is having right now. So that's what we're trying to help with. You can find it at Champion Forward on Instagram.
Champion Forward.
Champion Forward, yep. Or it's at a website, championforward.org is where the website is found.
So I think I hope you guys are just taking this in and breathing it in. So often we think, well, yeah, he was a major league MVP in the World Series, and that's different than me. No, it isn't. It's no different than you. Yeah. My dad, we both have we PTs, preacher kid, or PKs, preacher kid.
Yeah.
His dad was minister, my dad was minister. And that one song when I was remembering in high school, the only boy that could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. That was my theme song. Whoops, I left that out. But anyway, such good information. So if you got some questions, this is your chance. If anything stirred up in you. CT, I saw, is on it. I hope he's still on it. Here's a professional receiver who had a great career in football. Now he's retired, but we also get to see him now in movies because he'll play, some part in a movie as a football player. And now he's a fitness guy. I don't know. CT, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Say hello. I know you were on earlier. I can't see now who's on.
Who all is on?
Yeah.
Yes, Dave, I'm here. I appreciate the introduction. Thanks for having me.
Hey, buddy. My favorite receiver, baby.
I appreciate that. Well, for everybody's listening, he is a little biased. I caught a lot of his son's touchdowns, so it's easy for me to be a family favorite, I think. Good to see you guys. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, thanks for being on. Yeah, I didn't say that, but yeah, that's true. I was gonna, you helped my son have a stellar record-breaking pro career himself. So
yeah.
You guys had a connection. Oh, one other connection. So they had a connection on the field. Guess what they did? They were playing for Cleveland, and then there was this competition for singing, and there was money involved. These guys used money to just go and do this thing. They won this whole competition they were crazy. They were so funny together, but they brought their music, and then they went to the field and brought their music to the field, baby. Right, CT?
Yeah, share both a bit of performers. You know, we like to perform, we like to get in front of people, and there was an opportunity to sing some karaoke, and it was something that not a lot of professional football players were known for doing. So we entered into a karaoke competition, put our song and dance routine together, and won a couple $1,000. So, you know, now I won't ever do karaoke for free now that I'm a professional karaoke singer. But it was a great experience.
Why does that not surprise me, knowing Shane too?
I know.
Yeah.
I could totally see him doing this.
Oh, it's
Shane and I have a
priceless.
lot
The
in
videos
common,
of
and that's
these
one
two
of them.
guys are absolutely priceless. They were up against really good talent too, but they had the crowd going crazy.
Okay, we're gonna need Paige to find that online right now and put that in the feed. So if that's anywhere.
Like,
No,
I'll search
I don't
for
say it all
I'll
the
search
time, but
for
it's
it.
on YouTube. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
on
but
YouTube,
it's just
Shane and
another
CT, and you can
example.
find all the performances.
You know, again, it's just another example of how you do anything is how you do everything. Bring it to all things. They're professional football players who have worked their tail off to set records together. Yeah. But then they took that same mindset to go against. They had no right to do this. They had, you know, recording artists on that thing because there was money involved. So they were going against, but they figured that, well, you know, if we connect to the audience, because they're the ones that are voting, let's have it and just connect.
Yeah.
Connection is so important. A lot of times public speakers forget that. I got such a powerful message for you, but they're not thinking about, I want to meet you and connect with you in what I'm talking about. I want us to kind of let the walls fall between us so we can feel each other. I always pray and ask about that before I enter on a stage. I've been on stages in front of thousands of people all over the world. And I do get ready. I mean, I do have words I need to say, but I ask for guidance so that the walls come down and we meet each other heart to heart.
To be that present, as you're saying that, to be that present, as I'm thinking about you guys as young players, you know, just kind of doing this fun song thing together. You have to have a comfortability and a confidence as a human being where you're pushing through that level of potential shame. Because if you bomb, right, in that situation, there's always a fear and a risk that if you get up in front of somebody and you're not used to doing something, you're going to bomb and do terrible or whatever. But you guys were like, and I know Shane well enough to know, like, the mindset is, why not? Like let's do this. Who cares? It doesn't matter if we look stupid, right? We're gonna do our best at this and get after it. And I think to be able to really succeed and be fully present and authentic, you have to deal with the level of personal shame that we all feel stepping into the box or stepping onto the stage or stepping into a role that we feel incapable of performing at our best. There's a risk there and there's a fear there that you have to step through. And in order to truly find out what you're capable of, you got to face up to that and take the risk anyways.
Yeah, you know, it's so true. It kind of reminds me of something my son Chase, who also played college football.
Yeah.
We were skiing this winter with you know, the football coach from University of Utah, an NFL coach, and you know, just some football people, right? And after we're skiing, we're having lunch down in the snow, and the NFL coach says, "So, Dave, how have you done so many things in your life? You've been very successful in a lot of different areas." And Chase, before I could answer, goes, "Because he's ignorant." Well, what the frick? My son goes, "Because he's ignorant." He goes, "Yeah, he just didn't know he couldn't do it, so he went out and did it." I thought, okay, that's a little bit better. I didn't know where he was leading with that.
No, it's actually very like Dave. One of the things I do appreciate about you is Dave only sees possibilities far more than he sees what isn't capable in any situation, right? And so, you know, without making dumb decisions, I think you make bold decisions as a person and as a human being, and you just jump in with both feet. And I think there is something to that in the success you've had there, to your coaching and to finding all the principles that you found over time and becoming the coach that you've become. A lot of it seems to be your lack of I guess inhibition in those moments to just be bold and just step in and try it. And I'm sure some of that comes from your dad,
Yeah. He
And
took out machine gun fire for what
exactly.
he believed in.
Exactly.
You know?
In the war and some of the stories I've heard around your dad, just doing his job as a chaplain when he didn't even have a gun necessarily, he's going out into the field with taking machine gun fire, just trying to help guys.
Yeah, at Iwo Jima, he led the charge without a weapon, just his Bible and communion sack, and he had a big cross on his helmet, which was target practice. How he survived was crazy. He said, "Why would you lead the charge? You should be behind." And he says, "No, that's where I was needed most. I love God and I love my Marines." So he died 20 some years ago, and every time I hear his voice when I'm challenged, he goes, "I took on machine gun fire for what I believed in. Are you afraid of another man's scorn of their word?" And then I go, "Okay." And then, it's also all the little things you do if you want to improve and go to the top of your game. You see this jersey behind me? That's Tony Gwynn. 7 batting titles. One of the greatest hitters of all time. 338 was his average over his entire career. And I would get to the ballpark early because Tony got to the ballpark early. Back in the day, this is a long time ago. I wasn't even doing what I'm doing now, but I knew Tony. He'd get there before any other ball player, and then he'd put a ball on a tee and just stare at it, and then swing. Put another ball on it, stare at it, and swing. I'm going, what's he doing? So I want greatness has clues. I'm going, oh my God. It took me a while to figure out what he was doing because then the rest of the team would show up. He'd go in and then come out and take batting practice normally. But what he was doing was focusing on what the most important thing was in the game for him. The ball. He was training his brain before every game. He'd had this system he did. I'd never seen it before. I don't know if anybody else ever did that. But I thought, wow, that's just incredible. He's just training his brain to focus on one thing. And, he ended up with this phenomenal career. And then, one of the things about him too is that he could have made really big money going to New York, a different market, but he was such a family man. He felt like, no, this San Diego, it's not the biggest market. I'm not going to make as much money, but I'm going to have a better family life. So he was able to combine his strength and his talent in baseball, but didn't leave out what was most important to him. Where a lot of players today, it's all about the money.
Well, there's something to be said for knowing like having the self-awareness to know what you really want and need as a person versus letting somebody else or some other aspect of your life drive that. Like if money was a driver, he would have left San Diego.
Right.
It wasn't the driver for him. Some people, money is the driver, and you'll see that will drive their intentions and where they move in their life. And if you don't know yourself well enough to know like which direction you lean or are tempted, like I might have a temptation to move in one direction, but if my intention and my soul is saying, no, this is who you are, and I'm solid enough and I have the self-awareness to know like, no, this is actually who I am, even though I'm tempted to go in this direction, this is who I am, then you're going to stay true to the pathway that you should be on, right? And I think self-awareness work is one of the primary works that I did even after I finished baseball. If I could recommend people starting anywhere with emotional intelligence skills, it's self-awareness. And how you do that, just to be short, and how you do that is it doesn't matter what emotions chart you use, as long as you know what the definitions of those emotions mean. Find an emotions chart that makes sense to you. Might be 10 emotions, might be 15, might be 30 or more. But if you know what the definitions are, if you can share that with another human being that also knows what those definitions are, what you do is if you can pause in any part of your day, could be 5 minutes, do a check-in with how you're feeling. Just what feelings are coming up for you. Oh, I feel sad, I feel guilty, I feel ashamed, I feel excited, I feel happy or joyful or whatever it is that you're feeling in that moment. And just if you can just say it out loud and you start to get in the habit of saying, this is how I'm feeling. And primarily in my faith, if I can do that with God, even if I'm not doing it with somebody else, but I can do it with God, then he helps me understand where those emotions are coming from. Or that other person can say, well, what is that one emotion? Where's the sadness feeling like it's coming from? Right. And the more you do good quality emotional work, I think you can start to get to, oh, the why or the what, and what is that a need? Do I need something based on what I'm feeling? Or is that just something that's going to be passing through today? But the more aware you start to become of what's going on internally, then you can become more aware of what the way you're interacting with the world around you. You know?
You know, when I first started doing this 20 some years ago, I thought, man, I just got to get their mind right. I got to get their mind right. You know, my company's called Extreme Focus for a reason.
Yeah.
But what I found is, if I didn't tap into the emotional intelligence side, even if their mind was right, the emotions got in the way of using their brain to their best capacity.
Yeah.
You learn that now, that the emotional part is a big part of being able to deal with things in a much more positive way.
Yeah.
So I had to learn it through just doing the work and going, wait, it's more than just the mind.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is the key to open the path.
Yeah. It's our human experience,
right,
that factors into how we can get into our best state. So if you don't recognize that you're bringing into a day, let's say you're starting a competition, and you're walking into that competition, but you're carrying something with you. If you don't recognize what you're carrying with you that might be holding you back or negative, you won't play as free. And as we know, freedom of the mind and the heart and the soul is really key to being able to play all out and give it everything that you have, what you're capable of doing, right? So if there is something holding me back, then I won't be as prepared. But also, I'll say this: you will start to figure out who you are and what really makes sense to you on a faith side, connecting with God. If you've not ever done that, you will start to be able to connect to God when you realize there is a God that actually will meet you right where you are. You know, he actually, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, like, he's there. He's not going to run away. He's not going to judge you for that, for feeling that particular way. He just wants to know what it is. He wants you to share that with him, so that then he can share some truth with you, share some joy with you, share some love with you that you might not be feeling, and really ultimately bring you to a sense of freedom from some of the things that might be holding you back in your life. You know, so the emotional intelligence side, while I definitely had a faith and spiritual side where I could always connect with God that way, I didn't know how free he wanted me to be from the shame of letting people down, or the fear of failure, or some of the things that were kind of holding me back at times in my life or in my relationships.
Yeah, amen. So I don't know. So I'm going to go back to Paige now.
I'm gonna hop in and just please put your takeaways. This has been so amazing. I love seeing the two of you. Like, it's the synergy and all the shares are so amazing. And I want to just share that in 2 weeks, we have another one of these Moonshot series interviews with Kevin Guest. And it's at 1 o'clock on the 22nd of August. And he is the CEO of Usana, if you haven't heard of him. But it's a $20 billion company, global health and wellness company. And he's just a Renaissance man, like all of these amazing presenters that we've seen, that they reach a level of mastery in one area and then they take it into another. And so he's an author, he's a musician, he's a really amazing human, that as all the people that Dave draws into his world are. And so I'm excited for that. And so definitely sign up for that. And I'm going to put the link into this chat below. But then on top of that, we want to make an announcement about the Extreme Focus coaching program that Dave is putting together for the first time in 6 years. It's a way that you can learn the Game Ready certification information, the Be a Beast coaching methods. And if you're someone that just is a coach that wants to help others, that even just wants to learn this stuff for yourself and your family, this is an amazing opportunity to come together with just a small group of people that we're going to have go through this program. It's a 6-month program. The coolest thing is we're going to start out with 3 days here at Dave's estate. It's going to be absolutely magnificent, getting to know the people in the group and learning the basics of the program. And then we have 6 months of online training. Every week we'll be in class. You'll have online stuff to go through and reading. And then at the end, we have another 3-day retreat here. So it's going to be incredible. I'm going to put the information in the chat again, the link for signing up for that. And if you have any questions, then just reach out to me, because I can answer all your questions. We can go through, I can send you the payment links and that kind of thing for getting all enrolled in that. So I think that's all I needed to share, except that I'm just like, my face has been hurting from smiling, from being just like in this, just inspired, totally inspired by the faith, the intelligence, the nuggets that I think what's really cool is that we can take. I'm not a Major League Baseball player, but I have my own realm that I'm reaching excellence in, and I can use these same principles. So it's phenomenal. I have one other thing, and I want to share this really quick. I'm going to share my screen because we have a gift for you. Hold on.
Oh, really?
Hold on.
I didn't know
It's
that.
so good.
It's a gift for you, Dave?
No,
or a
for
gift
you,
for me?
I think. I don't think
Oh,
I get.
it's a gift. It's a gift
Yeah, what is
for
it?
all of you. So I think it's so
Oh.
cool.
There we go.
All right, so we got a guy in the Philippines, Ronaldo.
You gotta share your audio.
Okay, I got this.
Is
Hold
this
on.
a song? Is this?
Did
Did he
you
already
no,
created it? No.
Song. I can't wait.
No way he already created it.
He did it last time. Ronaldo's the most brilliant guy I've ever met, and he did it for. Oh my God! How does? I'm so excited. Come on, Paige.
Okay, we got this. Okay, I got it. Okay, now.
In the heart of the
That's right.
diamond, under the spotlight's glare, there's a man who rose above, with skill beyond compare. From the Astros' young gun to the Devil Rays' pride, he led them to their first World Series with the fire in his eyes. He's been an all-star, a champion, a hero in the night. Ben Zobrist, the name that shines so bright. So come and join us, hear the story of the man who thrived under pressure with a bat and glove in hand. Learn to be a 1% like Zobrist on the field. With grit and determination, your destiny is sealed.
Now I'm embarrassed.
In 15, he joined the Royals, brought glory to the crown. First World Series in 30 years, he never let them down. Then came the Cubs, in a moment so divine. Game 7 of the series, he made that final climb. With a clutch hit, he ended the curse. 108 years gone, Zobrist MVP, his legacy lives on. So come and join us, hear the story of the man who thrived under pressure with a bat and glove in hand. Learn to be a 1% like Zobrist on the field. With grit and determination, your destiny is sealed.
Oh my God.
.266 average, 167 home runs, 768 RBIs under the sun. 3 All-Star nods, 2 rings to his name. Ben Zobrist forever in the Hall of Fame. So come and join us, hear the story of the man who thrived under pressure with a bat and glove in hand. Learn to be a 1% like Zobrist on the field. With grit and determination, your destiny is sealed. So take a page from this book, find the strength to strive. With the heart of a champion, you'll keep your dreams alive. Join us for the Moonshot, let Zobrist show you the way to become a 1%er, starting today.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Ronaldo just did this?
Yes.
Oh my
He listens to it.
goodness.
He did it last time. He just shocked us.
I'm
Yeah.
speechless. I don't even know what to say. That's one of the most amazing things I've seen somebody or heard of somebody doing. Oh my gosh.
Hey, and those of you who missed last time, because Marlon's from Jamaica. It's a Jamaica song with the, the
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
island.
yeah.
And I told him you're from Nashville. I
Yeah,
said,
that's
and
perfect.
so look what he did.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait. I need to share that with my kids. I've got to like play
Well,
that for my kids. They'll
Yeah,
love
what a
that.
gift, man.
That's
oh,
amazing. That's so
Ronaldo,
fun.
Ronaldo,
you
will you
freaking
put your
rock.
contact info in, because we wanna just celebrate you and definitely share your information so people can reach out to you, because you're so gifted. Thank you so much, Ronaldo.
Wow.
Thank
That is
you, everyone,
amazing.
for taking the time to be with us today. We really appreciate you because, to grow in life. I mean, what's a master? A master is someone who every day gets up and says, I'm going to learn something new today and keep mastering it more. And keep, like Luke said, I wish I knew what I knew now. But he now knows it. So he's bringing it everywhere he goes. You now know what you have, but there's even more to come. You're not done.
Right.
You've got a lot. You continue to give. Luke and CT and those that we talked to, and each and every one, even if we didn't talk to you, be a master. And you can. It's your choice. Just take today and grow another step, one step at a time every day. And man, the world is yours.
Amazing. Thank you, Ronaldo. That was super special.
That was so great. There's his email, so definitely reach out.
Awesome.
Hey, Paige, I've got a shout out for just Ben and Dave. I've met this was a fantastic session. I loved every bit of this thing, and just think the world of both of you. I first met Ben because of Dave. We went out to spring training, I think it was 2018, 2019. And Ben just has this settled confidence that is such a beautiful energy, and his heart and his kindness just radiates through everything he does. And so I love you, Ben, and Dave. Being friends with you and both of you has been just a huge impact in my life, and a lot of that was because of this extreme focus. Right, I came in and we became friends, obviously, but I joined the extreme focus program and basically shut it down. Me and Josh shut it down like for 6 years, right, because we were so good. But what I'm saying is, like, this is one of those opportunities that you rarely get, to be in the space with people who can change your life for good. And just so happy to see this program back, Dave. And one of the things you said, Ben, about failure is a probability, I think is so well reflected in batting. And the fact that you know the probability is that you're not going to get that hit. And in fact, to get the right hit, you're counting, like you said, you're counting on someone else to make a failure, right? And you just have to be ready for that pitcher to let that pitch come that allows you to stand in your greatness. And that's such a great analogy for life. And you guys are talking about the best batters in the world, and they're like getting it a third of the time right, and so I just love that. So anyway, love you both. Didn't really have a question, just wanted to give that shout out. Thanks for
Thank
doing
you,
this.
Chip. Thanks, man. You're the best. Appreciate your heart, man. You always bring a lot of love and kindness into the room. So thank you for stepping in.
Amen. Hey, so glad. Again, so glad. There will be a recording sent to you. So if you missed part of it or just want to relive it, I know for me, when I hear something that really motivates me and inspires me, I get so into this state that I hear most of it, but I don't hear all of it. Then if I go back and listen to it, I go, oh my God, I didn't miss that. But now you're more even open, you kind of, there's like layers of learning. So I suggest go back and listen to there's a lot of richness within what was said today. So thank you for taking your time and being here present, and those that spoke up too. Amen.
Like, out of all the things that you've chosen to teach in your nonprofit is emotional intelligence. And you're teaching this to athletes. And there's so many different things that you could teach teenagers and high school students. And you could teach them the skills, you could teach them other mindset things. But what really brings you into this, like, laser focus into emotional intelligence? And if you can just speak a little bit more to that, because you kind of touched on it, of how you kind of found this afterwards and wish that you knew it before. But how is that making even more of an impact than just like focusing in on honing in on the skill set area of sport?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I just, from my personal experience of getting to win the World Series a couple times and also watching, other guys in the league, like, get a chance to achieve their dreams. I think everybody's trying to achieve their dreams on an external level. But if you can do that and there's certain other things in your life that don't feel right, and you can't experience a level of peace while you're achieving your dreams, then it does not really matter what you're achieving. So the happiest people in the world aren't necessarily achieving anything. I think achievement is something everybody wants to get to. They want to perform and achieve and try to reach their dreams. But honestly, if we don't do great internal work, we're really looking for the wrong dream, in my opinion. So I think I'm all for people, chasing the things that they want to go be involved in, experience wise in their life. However, if you don't do some of that other quality work, you really can't know yourself or know your creator well enough to actually like enjoy the things that you're achieving. So I've seen a lot of people achieve a lot of great things and be miserable doing it. So I think what we all really want is to enjoy those experiences while we're doing them, because it's really the process and the journey and the experience that you have, and not what mountaintop you reach in your life. And that comes from my own personal experience of getting to the top and still feeling depressed about that, right? And not really knowing, okay, well, if the human experience when you get to the top can still be very sad and depressing, then what are the keys and the tools that I need to learn at this point in my life to really enjoy the rest of my life? Because there's probably going to be a lot of other losses, a lot more losses than wins as I get older. And we all experience that, not only on a relational level, but we experience that in life and some of the things that we're going for. So how do we still win even though we're losing at times? And I think that's where you do that internal emotional work. And so I want to get kids and families and coaches connected to that, because that's their primary experience right now is in sports. So if I can get them connected to that through sports, then eventually maybe they'll open the door to some spiritual conversations, open the door to some life stuff that really lends them towards peace and happiness when things aren't, on the mountaintop.
Amen. That's so good
I
stuff.
love that.
Hey, I see one last thing. I know we're going to end up here, but I see James Dixon on it. James, I talked to him. He's going to be on after, like next time it's we got Kevin, but then James is going to be on. This guy has got, I mean, it's crazy. James, if you want to come on, how many million, I know we're wrapping it up. How many million follow you on YouTube? It's the most of anybody. It's in the hundreds of millions.
Okay. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like Tony
Way up there.
Robbins, it's twice as much as whatever Tony Robbins has.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
I saw you on, James, but we'll have, and you talk about adversity coming from the inner city and going to where he's come to now.
Mhm.
I mean, every one of these guests, I get so excited that I even know you guys, that I get to be a part of your lives. When your mom and dad came here a few years ago and they came and hugged me, and your mom's crying, going, "Thank you for being Ben's friend." I'm like going, I'm crying. I'm going, wait a minute. It's like a precious gift to me, not, the other way around. So anyway.
This is Emily. I have a question, if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm working in the healthcare field a little bit differently, but I love that both of you are talking about having peace and enjoying life more and just being able to enjoy that in the moment. And I have a lot of clients that struggle with, I cannot enjoy life unless this health problem goes away, or I cannot enjoy life until this relationship problem goes away. And their fixations on the idea of something going away is inhibiting them in the very moment of all the beautiful things to enjoy. And so in the process of you kind of getting to that spiritual process, what would you say may be most helpful to these people to start to be willing to maybe take a look and let go of some of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, just the idea of them fixating on something is a fixed mindset, right? Versus a growth mindset. So let's say if it could be physical pain they're dealing with, it could be emotional pain. That we all deal with various types of pain. It all feels like suffering, no matter whether it's mental, emotional, physical. it feels like suffering to us, right? So how do you get to the point of actually saying suffering is good when it feels bad? It just feels bad, so it must be bad. I think the only way that you get to that is when you can see what it's producing in you. You have to be able to start to see, how is this forcing me to be better? How is this forcing me to grow in a way that I could not have grown? I can look back on certain periods of my life now and go, wow, that really was not fun to go through. And yet I'm super thankful that I went through it because I saw what it produced. And the more time we get seeing the production of suffering and how it can produce good in us and through us in other people's life, that's why it's so important to share with people how their suffering benefited us, because that helps them go back and see how something that felt bad actually was good in the end. You know, it's really hard to do that, but we have to help each other as human beings realize, like, wow, this trial that I went through was really good for me, and actually other people were built up and encouraged and had more faith or more joy or hope because of the way that I experienced that.
Yeah, so good. I found, if I look back at my life, all my greatest successes came from my biggest failures. I mean, so I just look at life. When I have a challenge, I go, there's a gift here. I just have to find it. Sometimes the gift shows up right away. Sometimes it might be 6 months later. Sometimes it's longer than that. But I always keep the mindset, I'm going to discover the gift.
It is a gift.
It
will be, even if it's not right now, this will be a gift either to me or to other people that are around me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing the work you do.
Thank you both as well. It's very inspiring.
Awesome. She's a doctor, and so she's.
Oh man, it's so important what our healthcare people, and for y'all to be supported in what you're doing, because I know you're hearing the worst of it from people a lot of times, and it's the same thing with pastors and ministers and people that are dealing with problems constantly, counselors, like that side of what, helping people. Y'all need to be supported and built up and encouraged and positivity infused into your lives, because you're constantly hearing the hard side of life, right? So I think it's super powerful that you're really thinking about how you can help these people see the positive side.
He always has such wisdom. It's like what I said about Tony Gwynn. There's different ball players that I've been blessed to know and been able to learn their approach, because everyone's an individual. What Ben does doesn't mean the next ball player is going to do that. But there's an element that we can at least become aware of, maybe this is an approach, and then find their own individuality in that approch.
Yeah. Yep.
Amen.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we say goodbye now.
Thank
Aloha,
you.
kahanui, e mahalo.
Thank you.
And
Thank
that's
you so
all.
much.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, if you do want to see that video of JC, and I'm gonna just put it right in here.
You found
in the
it?
chat.
Yes.
found
Put
it.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it later, or listen to it, I guess.
Yeah. Click on the link and then it'll pop up. It's hilarious. Okay, thank you everyone. Just so appreciate you being on. Come to the next one in 2 weeks and sign up with the link here. So thanks again. Bye for now.
Bye.